o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Hello, I can't hear you. Oh, okay. I have a deep dark secret. I just love my Chinese food. I have another dark secret. My parents, when they came to the U.S., they had to open a Chinese laundry because no one hired them. So they had to create their own jobs. And the Chinese laundry is a low social status. There's a lot of racism and harassment they fought when they had this business. And my dad and myself, we are of the paper son legacy. And I know none of you know what the paper son is. So I'm going to go explain to you through my father's legacy. In the U.S., there's a man named Shimon, who is my great-grandpa. He was in the U.S. in the 1900s. Oh, not yet. He was here probably because of the railroads and the gold rush during that time. And so he did the paper sun because in 1906 in San Francisco, there was an earthquake and there was heavy fires and it damaged a lot of the national records. And the Chinese then used that as a loophole to get another sun, a fake sun, from China back to the U.S. So this allowed the Chinese to falsify immigration records. And they were not, none of these men are related to each other. And so this is what the paper sun was. And then in the People's Republic of China, my great-grandpa Shimon, he had paper son, a man named Wong, and my dad and my mom. My mom wasn't quite born yet. My dad was 3 at the time. So this man had adopted my father. By this time, the immigration records are getting more organized, so you can't do falsification. So back in the U.S., Wong comes to the U.S. in Los Angeles. And he brings his wife at the time. I did some research on Wong. He was the one who adopted my dad. And he was in San Francisco in 1910. He was 19, but he was 29 years old when he was in LA. Because in San Francisco, it was already getting crowded. Because we know San Francisco was really crowded. It was crowded back then too. So he sensed a lot of things were happening in the war in China because Mao Zedong, the communists, and the nationalists under Chiang Kai-shek, they were fighting, and they also had the Japanese invading too. So Wong was nervous, so he sent my dad on the dollar steamships, the SS Coolidge. Okay. And so now my dad is in the U.S. now. And he goes back to China, and he marries my mom, Louis Kim Wong, and she has a 2-syllable sounding name, but that's another time for another day, because most Chinese names are 1 syllable. Okay, and so everybody has the idea of paper sun now. You have to ask yourself, I have to ask myself, why did I join the United States Navy? I would have really liked to have gone to an Ivy League school back in the day, but it didn't happen. My parents could not do very much for me, so I had to go join the Navy because I thought that was a pretty safe career. And I did okay. I came out alive. And I want to also tell everybody about the Chinese Exclusion Act in 1882. I didn't know if anybody knows about that. Nobody? Okay. Two. Okay. Okay, everybody has no excuse. They got to know American history. In 1882 was the Chinese Exclusion Act. It was one of the most horrible, stupid, awful law that they had passed against the Chinese back in the day. And it seemed like it had followed, they say 60 years. I think it probably was like 80 billion years. It just seems to follow. I can relate to my parents raising us in the Chinese laundry, because when I was in the Navy, I was also looked down by a lot of officers at the time. And I'm like, this is not real. I'm doing my job and I'm looked down by officers. And my parents were looked down too for the low status jobs. My dad was a houseboy, which is equivalent to being a maid. And I wanted to tell a story. When I got back from Desert Storm, I came back, was working in El Segundo, California. Anybody knows where that is? I come back to that job and nobody was there to greet me. There was no banners. They said I was overpaid. I couldn't believe it. And the bonus I got, they said I was denied that. So the next 4 or 5 months there, they said I had to pay money back. And so I had to live on nothing. And at the time, the CEO of the corporate world had told me I was racist. Unreal. But I made sure in the book, in this book, Through the Eyes of the Heroes, a tribute to San Diego Chinese Historic Museum, I made sure I documented in there and the CEO. And through that, there was many other situations I went through where I felt discriminated against. And in honor, particularly when the Chinese exclusion began to fade, was during World War II, I had created this beautiful flag, if you can come up. I created this beautiful flag in honor of the Chinese who served in World War II, particularly, there was over 20,000. Because from that time, that discrimination began to fade away. So in honor of the Chinese recognition of Chinese and all Asians, they need to be recognized while they're still alive and not dead. And to thank you. Yeah, thank you.
This is the story of the Chinese American and the veterans and their problems, and maybe next time we will talk about the veterans of another Asian nation. But Lucy did work hard, and she is a known speaker around the country and abroad. So thank you for your time.
You're welcome. You're welcome.